The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here he is, Brandon.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Brandon Peters Show. Today we'll be focusing on Fantastic, a celebration of fans discovering Doctor Who, the latest release from Zepo Publishing. And just to discuss this book, why not have the founder of Zepo Publishing, yet another author of Red, White, and Who, joining us here, and also from Chicago TARDIS. It's Nick Seidler.
Brandon, thank you for having me here. Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good day. So that's awesome. And thanks for having me. Very, very kind of you to invite me. That was really kind of wonderful.
Listeners may recognize Nick from my Doctoberfest 2024 episode I released last year, but this is your first time on the show proper we've had. So if you want to tell people a little bit about yourself.
Sure.
In case they didn't listen to that.
I have been a fan of Brandon Peters for a couple of years now, actually. So I know you're really asking about me, but I actually want to talk you up a little bit because I actually think your show is great. I've been following it for a while. I've followed all of your Tarkovsky videos recently that I know that you're doing with Stephen Warren Hill,
and
which
if you
is
listen to
really
those,
good series.
If you listen to those, this is the Nick that gets called out in those sometimes.
Yeah, yes, and I felt singled out on this Stalker. I'm just kidding. I actually like Stalker, but I am occasionally critical about it a little bit. So, but yeah, actually, I really like your show, and actually, you have a couple other great people that you actually do some of your retrospective shows on, which I really like when you're covering like film stuff. I've watched some of your live PopCon stuff as well, which I also get a kick out of. And I know before we started this, we talked a little bit about like your PopCon connection and that there was a inside pop joke that I can't quite share today because I forgot to bring it, but a fun little connection with that fandom that's part of Zepo Publishing, which is fun. But I really wanted to talk you up. If this is the first time you happen to be tuning in to see me for Zepo Publishing and you're kind of curious about the book or whatever, I really want to encourage you to follow Brandon because his show is excellent. And we actually met the first time at Who North America. We were both working on a Doctor Who documentary, and we just hit it off like friends right off the bat, which was wonderful, man. So,
yeah, it was crazy. It was an amazing day. It was a long day, but no, it was pretty fun. And that documentary comes out, I believe, early next year. I'm thinking.
I'm looking forward to it.
Like February or something like that.
Oh, it's going to be a good one. I know you guys worked really hard on it. So
we did. We went to the Navy Pier to shoot some stuff for it that's not in the documentary itself, but they're going to put it on the bonus features.
Okay, nice.
Which I don't think Real Time ever does bonus features, so we may have forced their hand.
There you go. I think that's awesome. I know you guys did some really good shots and stuff. So
yeah. But yeah, no, that was an awesome day. We've interviewed you a couple times because there's other documentary stuff in the pipeline coming down. And it's been great to know you as well as Steven and Rob and John. Yeah, just been a whole through after that meeting like Libby and all these very cool. Like my Who fandom has taken like a giant leap in the last couple of years that I've been nothing but grateful for.
Yeah. And actually, that's kind of what the book is all about, actually, because it's about celebrating fans, actually. And so, like, you kind of asked me a little bit about me, but I'll just give you a really quick intro, which is that I've been involved in Doctor Who fandom for about 45 years, very active in Doctor Who fandom. I'm on the committee that helps run Chicago TARDIS, which is the big Doctor Who convention that's held in Chicago, Illinois every year. I'm active in other conventions. I have been either a guest or helped work at Console Room in Minneapolis. I'm a guest liaison and help plan events at Gallifrey 1 in Los Angeles. Some of my friends and I, so Jan Fennick, uh, Jennifer Adams Kelly, John LaValle, Rob Warnock, Stephen Warren Hill, all worked on a book called Red, White, and Who: The Story of Doctor Who in America, which is sort of the definitive book about Doctor Who and kind of the experience in the USA where it was broadcast and stuff like that. And if people have tuned in, they've heard a little bit about that. But that's a little bit about me. And then a few years ago, and some people might not know this, so I should explain this as well. For many years, I've been involved in the role-playing game industry. So I have a very long-running role-playing game campaign, which is actually a Doctor Who role-playing game campaign. So we're kind of
Mhm.
doing a whole Doctor Who thing here. And my campaign has run for 40 years straight. And Brandon, you actually played in game 5,000.
I
That,
did. Yes.
yeah. And hopefully that was a good time. You came, I know, all the way to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for that
Mhm.
experience, which was pretty cool. So,
And it's been
um,
documented.
yeah, and kind of cool. The game continues. It's been going for over 40 years. In that time, we've played over 5,000 different game sessions and adventures. And of course, I've had probably 300 plus different players who've been involved in the game. And because of my experience in role-playing games, living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, very close to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, which is where role-playing games are founded. Lake Geneva is where Gary Gygax and his family lived, and so where TSR Hobbies was founded, and sort of the birthplace of role-playing games in general. So I've been very close to that, either there or nearby UW Parkside or in Milwaukee, Wisconsin itself. Gen Con, which was the big gaming convention in the United States, was held. And so from the time I was young, I've always been gaming. And so I wrote and edited role-playing games over the years. So that's just something that I've done. And in that turn, I have always worked in publishing books or supplementing them or writing for magazines or fanzines or whatever. And there was always a moment when I would pitch an idea or a book. I think we all have this moment, Brandon, where we
Hmm.
have an idea and we're like, oh man, somebody's got to do this. This will be great. And it always turns out that the publishers would go, yeah, yeah, that's a pretty good idea, Nick. Yeah, but I'll pass. I don't think that'll really go, like. And so about 2 years ago, I said, enough of the passing and going. I was going to start my own publishing company. So in 2023, I officially started Zepo Publishing, and Zepo Publishing is named after my character in the role-playing game, Zepo, Zepo. Okay. And so like a little connection to the role-playing campaign itself.
Hmm.
And now I have the opportunity to do all of the books and projects that I've wanted to do. And that also allows me to invite others to be a part of those projects too. And one of the things that I care about with Zepo Publishing, I know I'm talking a lot here. I hope that's okay.
You're
But
supposed to, Nick.
yeah, okay, but what I really care about is involving people, right? And so like really of the first three books we've done, they're fan centric because I think one of the things that needs to be celebrated are fans themselves. And what makes any fandom, whether you're a Star Wars fan or a Doctor Who fan, or whether you love soccer games or sports, or if you love knitting and crocheting, or you love reading books, or like both of us, we love films, right?
Hmm.
Part of what makes that fun isn't just the films or the Doctor Who or whatever. It's really the fans, the friends we make, and things like that. And I don't think that there's enough out there in which the fans get to be involved in things. And that was one of the things that actually moved our new book, Fantastic, a celebration of fans discovering Doctor Who, is that I wanted to give those people a voice. I wanted to include people. I think we've all been that person where somebody's doing this really cool project and you're like, oh yeah, me and this guy or girl are doing this thing. And it's going to be amazing. And you're just like, I love that too. Is there a reason I'm not involved?
Right.
And so I think, it's honestly the goal of Zepo Publishing to involve you, to be a part of that. And later I'll talk about how people get involved in our next Doctor Who book too, if they love it. So
So yeah, like the fan, you bring up an interesting, the importance of the fans, which some people might be like, really fan, because I think through our social media age, there's been
Mhm.
a lot of bad stuff with fandom or the perceived
Yeah.
stereotype and the like grouchy internet toxic people and stuff, but like if you are in the spaces where someone like Nick and I are, at the like convention areas or the gatherings for things, you'll learn that those aren't the people online like when you actually meet and get with the people, it's way more positive. Not that
Mhm.
there aren't bad eggs in the
Yeah.
live face-to-face realm, but majority of it's super positive. Like when I do PopCon, Chicago TARDIS that was my first one last year when we were shooting, and just like mostly I interacted with the staff, but they were a brilliant bunch of kind,
Mhm.
accepting, just like immediate. Like I've done things in filmmaking and things like that where you can like people are told or like
Mhm.
but nobody listens, no one cares. People are really proud of their job. Nobody was like that at Chicago Turn. Everybody was like, "Come this way, this, let me get to it right now," or that
Mhm.
like amazing. And I gotta give it to if she maybe she's not Arnett. She was
Yeah.
awesome because I did a lot of dealing with her and she was amazing.
Yeah.
Looking forward
She's the
to
head
again.
guest liaison at
Yeah,
Chicago TARDIS, and she has been involved in that fandom as long as I have, and just is
yeah,
amazing person. The people
yeah,
that you find, I think, in a lot of fandoms, but especially Doctor
yeah.
Who fandom, are amazingly great.
It's
So,
yeah, yeah. It's I it took me a while to like really for me with Doctor Who to come out and be around because I thought it was like I was the only person I knew who cared that much. That wasn't just like chatting with people online
mhm.
because I I really got into it deeper on a deeper level when I was living in Los Angeles, back in the mid 2000s when it came back on, and I came home and like
Mhm.
nobody was really into it or whatever, and I found like one other person, but then a door slowly unlocked, and then it's just grown
Yeah,
ever since for me in probably the last like 10 to
right.
12 years, and I'm like, where was this all the time for me?
Yep.
But you know what? Better late than never, and it's
Mhm.
been prosperous. But um, where I was getting to, the importance of the fans, especially in a realm like Doctor Who, is
Mhm.
they are custodians of the history and the knowledge and like the people who are in it, especially like, the classic stuff. Like they don't remember they did it. It wasn't important to people at the time, maybe per se, as it was to a fan. Fans are going to remember an interview at a convention that people aren't going to do. I've heard some of the celebrities from Doctor Who, the stuff they talk about is because they heard fans tell them about it. So I guess I said that. So I will now put it in my mind as if I'm remembering I said that.
Uh-huh.
And that's sort of the importance of it. And that's why I
Yeah.
think is definitely important that you're acknowledging and giving the
Mhm.
spotlight to them to carry on the stories, to tell untold stories of things that happened. Like Larry Van Mersbergen, who we both
Yeah.
know, he's got wonderful stories of convention years past and interacting with like Patrick Troughton and
Yep.
John Pertwee. Like,
He's such a great resource.
mm-hmm,
He does kind of one of my favorite panels, actually, that happens at the Doctor Who convention. He has collected Doctor Who for a long time, so
mm-hmm,
he will bring some of his older collectibles. And while I think that's valuable, right? And I also know that obviously Keith at Who NA, right?
mm-hmm.
Does the same thing where I love it when people share the things that they've collected because what ends up happening is, you can collect something and if you put it on a shelf somewhere and you go, haha, I have this thing, right?
Missing, missing
That's
episodes.
yeah,
Missing episodes.
yeah, missing episodes, guys. How cool are you for being the big jerks of Doctor? Okay, I'm just being a little bit of mean now, but yeah, I think you really win people over and do the right thing when you care about them and you involve them, and when you try to share, right? So, but my nature is that I'm an educator in my day job,
Mm-hmm.
and so to actually like teach people or give everybody access to something or to be kind, do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
why do I like Doctor Who? Because the main character is like a good guy who's genuinely kind, right? And I think that's a particularly something we need now, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a particularly good thing. So I like it. I like involving people. I think it's really nice that Larry brings us collectibles and then shares them with people. And then we'll also let you play. Like there's a great game called War of the Daleks, and it was made a game made in the 1970s, I believe. And in as a big gamer, it is one of the top 5 board games that I've ever played in my life.
Hmm.
It's strangely fun and addicting, and it's like there's not that many versions of that game out there. So to be
Yeah.
able to go to like a convention, and then especially if you're into like gaming, you're like, hey, I want to play this game, you have a chance to do that. Like that's not everybody's going to take out their very rare board game and go, yeah, we can play this together. Like, let's do that. And Larry does that every year. I think that's just like one of my favorite things that happens at Chicago TARDIS. And the game room in general, which, Libby Shea
Hmm.
runs, and Jenna Hull and some of the other people who are involved in projects here at Zepo Publishing, Brandon Shea, a bunch of other people like run games there the whole weekend. And they're just like the most engaging and nice people. And there's nothing better than being around quality people,
Yeah.
right? Like when you can learn from somebody every day and then they're kind to you and nice and help you grow as a person, like, that those are moments you treasure, right? And so I'll just say this, right? And that's a little bit why I want to document the fandom, because these are amazingly good, kind people that have stories. Not everybody knows their story. And I think that's where we can really learn a lot from that. And so I think that's kind of what Fantastic is all about, right? Like I think that like giving a voice to those people may not always have a voice. There are certain fans that we've all heard from. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But we've heard from them. So let's hear from some other people, right? Let's include everybody. So
Like Ian Levine. Yes.
yeah.
So,
I saw there's a new
right.
isn't there a new Mythmakers video coming out about him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a very fun car ride discussion with Keith Barnfather about that. But
Okay.
um yeah, and he makes a good point of why he chose Ian, which was a controversial pick to do a
Yeah.
Mythmakers to people, but uh if you talk to Keith and you think about it, like of course, we know what
Yeah.
time
We
has,
yeah.
made him a bit bitter and his opinions and all this stuff have been
Mhm.
a bit rash, but he did serve a purpose in the history of Doctor Who.
Absolutely. We wouldn't be watching some of the episodes that we are blessed to be able to watch
Right.
from the earliest eras of the film if he didn't realize that they were being junked and literally saved some of them. So
And
like
he
salute to you. I think that's amazing.
and he
And that's a
played
great example of somebody who gave back, right?
yeah,
So
and he did play an advisory role on the show
yeah,
for a short time and made Doctor in distress, whether
yeah,
whatever you want to think about it, but these are historical points that
absolutely.
constantly get referred to. So I may yeah, and yeah,
I'm
uh,
probably one of the few people that doesn't dislike Doctor in Distress, just so you know. So like I
it's
don't think it's the greatest thing ever, but like I
I love
also
that it exists. I love so I get to a point with these things where I'm just like, well, this is part of our family. This is what it's
yeah,
here. And then time and stuff, and you could look at it like I didn't live. Well, I was alive when Doctor in Distress came out, but I wasn't like Doctor Who
yeah.
aware or anything like that. That I would have known like, oh my gosh, this is what we're doing now.
Uh,
And then you let time pass. And I'm like, oh, this is a neat footnote here.
yeah,
You got this.
yeah.
It's
Well,
and
and I'll mention this if I'm correct, I think I am here. Ian Levine also wrote the theme, I believe, to Canine and Company, which I particularly
that is
like.
an amazing thing. That if
Yeah.
you want the most '80s thing ever, that
Yep.
opening credits intro of Canine Company is magnificent.
It is.
I love it. I
It's
do love
so
it.
of its era, but I'll tell you, Liz Sladen at the beginning of that with a wine and
Oh
chilling
yeah.
out in a car and it's like super posh, right? Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
kind of cool, right? Like
It is
so.
amazing. It is amazing. Like
Yep.
and it fits nothing with the episode that follows.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's like
Yep.
this dark culty thing. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that wasn't this. But oh man, what we could have had that been a success. What we could have
I
had
love it.
seasons upon seasons. So fantastic. Um,
Yeah.
lots of fans in here and stuff. And so you chose to take the angle of discovery with Doctor Who. That's one of the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And why go with start there? Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I get it, but for people who are listening,
Sure. Sure.
what?
First of all, thank you for asking that because that
Hmm.
really gets to the core of what the book is all about, right?
Hmm.
So we called it fantastic because obviously that was the Ninth Doctor's kind of like, motto or term that he used or dropped a lot, right?
Chicago TARDIS guest of 2025,
Yes, Christopher
Christopher
Eccleston will be
Eccleston,
there. That's going
Ninth
to be pretty
Doctor.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and of course it's about fans, right? So
Hmm.
fan is in fantastic. And so that was exactly the right title for the book. And one of the things that I really care about is documenting fandoms. So John Curtis and myself help run the Earthbound Time Lords Doctor Who website, which is online. And the Earthbound Time Lords was the first academic Doctor Who website that was online. I think we went online in like 97. Literally had scholarly articles that were written about Doctor Who put there. But when we first did that project, the only scholarly Doctor Who that had really been released was the unfolding textbook, right? So
Hmm.
Manuel Alvarado and the other guy who wrote it, I can't think of what his name is right now, but Alvarado, but Jeremy Tulloch. But they were the first people to release basically like a media history book in 1982 or 83, I believe, doing academic work about Doctor Who. And so we thought it was time. Both John and I had our advanced degrees, and we were like, this is a space that nobody's doing any academic work.
Hmm.
And since then, now there's been plenty of it, a lot of great academic work, and it continues to be added to. But when we started the Earthbound Time Lords site, we wanted to make sure that we documented what was going on. Well, we know that every Doctor Who fan talks to another Doctor Who fan, and at what time or another they will ask, "Hey man, what was the first episode you ever saw?" So just for fun, let's do this. Brandon, what was the first episode you ever saw?
I'm pretty sure,
Uh-huh.
and this recently epiphany like happened for me because I've seen the episode, a, quite this story quite a few times, but it was, I believe it was Modern Undead.
Oh.
And when the Blu-ray collection came out and I was going through that with season 20, it like clicked. I don't know how, I don't know why. And I was like, because I had remembered this is because I was flipping through, I was a kid, and my PBS station had it on late at night, and I was like, I was just entranced with it. There was these two girls and this guy in this weird suit, and it was Peter Davison. I remember, the suit, and I remember the TARDIS inside, the three of them, and a lot of grass. That's what I had remembered. And then there was a shot that hit in Modern Undead, fully restored in HD Blu-ray, that said that was the grass you remembered. And I was like, it must be, I don't know which episode
Uh-huh.
of the serial it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Modern Undead.
Uh-huh.
And it was like this weird thing where I was like, I don't think this is a scary show, but I feel creeped out by it. And which is
Nice.
funny because the first time I met you guys, we were sitting in the what we were making to the green room at Who North America. Stephen Warren Hill, who will be back on this show this month for another entry of Tarkovsky's Tales, looked at me. He's like, "So how did you discover Doctor Who? What was it? And what attracted you to it?" That was what he asked me,
Uh-huh.
and I gave my answer, and I knew I gave the right one because I just saw his looking at his face like, "Yep, that's
Yep.
exactly what it was." So,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Modern Undead. Um,
I love it.
it just clicked. What was yours?
Yeah. I'll tell you, and then I'll tell you why I asked it the way I did,
Okay.
right? Because the very first episode that I ever saw, and thanks to an amazingly great website
Mm-hmm.
called Broadcast, okay, spelled broad, DW in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
broadcast, as I
Broadcast.
always joke with my friends. You can look up where Doctor Who was broadcast around the world. Now, I knew
Mm-hmm.
I watched in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so I've been able to track it down
Well, if you
to
remember,
being.
mine can't be tracked. I was in a PBS station in Fort Wayne, and John's like, "Damn it, I can't get."
Okay,
That's like the what's one of the few stations he
yeah,
can't get the records for. So I
yeah,
cannot I don't
Give,
know.
give John some time. I believe he'll figure
He'll
something
come
out in
through.
that space.
Okay.
So, but I know that I discovered it on the 16th of April in 1983. And I was flipping through channels. And as I was flipping through the channels, and of course in 1983, there, I believe in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we were limited to 5 active TV channels, maybe 6 at that
Mm-hmm.
time. And as I was going through, just seeing if there was something on, I flipped on to Channel 10, WMVS in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And there was a scientist who had no eyes, only one mechanical eye in the middle of his head.
Hmm.
He was being confronted by a bunch of other scientists that were talking to him about how it was unethical for him to mutate their species and race. And all of a sudden, these robots came out to confront these scientists and they were exterminated. And so, the very first, I remember the scene. I was like, what is this? And I remember the scene. And of course, the scientists get exterminated. And I found out, of course, that I was watching the omnibus version of Genesis of the Daleks,
Hmm.
the third, fourth Doctor's, or I'm sorry, third, fourth Doctor story. Just amazingly good.
Robot Arc
Ark in
Centaur. Yeah,
Space,
fourth.
Centaur Experiment,
Fourth.
and then Genesis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, what an amazing start. So, like,
Yeah.
it was Daleks, right? Like
Yeah.
at a certain level, it
The
was like,
origin
wow,
story of the Daleks.
yep.
Yeah.
And and I was there as the fourth Doctor talks about morality and thinks about
Mm-hmm.
what like, and I'm like, whatever I'm watching, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And a friend of my mom's was visiting that day, and Teresa Mueller, and was from Chicago. And I'm like, what is this? And she said, oh, that's Doctor Who. I watch it all the time
Mm-hmm.
in my city. And so then she gave me a title, and then how many, is there more than one of these? Oh, yeah, there's a whole bunch. And of course, the way it
You'll
was described to
never
me,
ever be able to watch every episode. It's great.
right? How it was described to me was there's a whole bunch of movies
Oh.
because they
Oh.
were the omnibus versions. They weren't episodic.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
like, I loved movies when I was young, like,
Yeah.
and I've always loved movies, right? So, growing up with the Bowery Boys and Jackie Chan, public television access type shows, to discover that there was this cool sci-fi show, of which, from what I could tell, there were 30 plus movies, full length, 2 hour, hour and a half, 2 hour plus movies was
Yeah.
amazing, right? So,
Well, that's some of the greatest thing with Doctor Who is a lot of times it feels like, especially in like the classic era, uh, it felt like the Doctor was like interrupting a movie already in progress, like you'd
yeah,
seen, like Robots of Death, like oh, it's Agatha Christie, it's like Agatha Christie occurring in Dune is basically what's going on
yeah,
there. And he jumps in the middle of it. Like that was gonna happen. There's gonna be a whole interesting movie going on before the Doctor showed up, but then he shows up and it becomes, a whole new thing. Like there's a whole that's one
absolutely.
of the things I love um about it as well. And you know, what's funny is like so part of my apprehension of like, oh, Doctor Who was when I was watching it, like I didn't like regularly watch it when it was because it was all reruns in like I think when I discovered it, it was already over, Doctor Who. But I would like, oh yeah, there's that show on PBS. Like I'd be watching it because I watched Saturday Night Live a lot, and I would flip around before it or after it, and I would catch Doctor Who, if I remembered or whatever, and I'd watch it. And it was I only ever watched it was only ever Peter Davison or Tom Baker, my PBS was showing, and then. I was in science class one time. My science teacher, who was a pretty nerdy guy or whatever, very into science, but like he made a Doctor Who reference, and I got it, and I mentioned, oh, like Doctor Who, and he's like, yes, oh, blah blah blah. I was like, okay, and then like he comes to me, and you're very self conscious in middle. I think it was his middle school or something, and he comes up and he's like, "Hey, Brandon, I just wanted to come over and show you my TARDIS key ring." Da da da. And all these people are like, "Ha ha ha!" And I was like, "Oh gosh, oh man." I was like, "That's cool. That key ring's probably worth a ton of money now."
That
But
dude is cool AF, dude. I'll tell you
now
that.
I'm like, I wish I could go back and be like, dude, I saw the light finally. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
embarrassed, like, but
yeah.
that's what kind of, and a lot of stuff, like a lot of things that are cool now were not cool. But like
Right.
it's like so normal to love Star Wars. But when I was growing up, I was like reading the Heir to the Empire and the Timothy Zahn books. People were like, nerd, oh, like why do you know so much about Star? And I was like, Star Wars is the cool people, and Star Trek's kind of the nerdy people, while being a person who watched Star Trek myself.
Right, too,
You
right?
know,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I ate it all up, but like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy. And now we can be whoo, and
mhm,
there's people like you putting out books to
yep,
share
yep,
our stories and be like, it's okay. But like we've
yeah.
gone way, but the nerds won eventually.
Hmm.
Whether that's for better or worse, we're still finding out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I'll add something to that. And as we traded, like, hey, when we first watched
Yeah.
our first Doctor Who, it was interesting to me that you told me the story about how Stephen Hill like said to you, like, hey man, what was your first story, right?
Yeah.
The reason that we decided to do Fantastic was because there are certain things that fans do
Hmm.
that the average person never actually gets to see.
Yeah.
And almost every fan will ask one another, hey man, what was your first Doctor Who episode? Right? And so fans ask that to one another all the time. I have never once seen that documented in a book.
Yeah.
And so when we got together and we're having a chat, and our team at Zepo Publishing, I may own the publishing company, but I consider us all a team. Whether we're working on a project or not, we're all a part of that.
Hmm.
And we kind of talked through like what would be a good, and we're like, we've never seen anybody actually write down what the first episode that people saw. Are there any trends there even, right? We don't like
Yeah.
it didn't even matter if there were trends or not. Turns out there were a couple, right? And so that's a little bit addressed, some statistics that are later in the book, right?
Yeah.
But basically we wanted to hear from all those fans. So there were four questions that we asked every fan who participated in the book. And we had over 100 people, fans of Doctor Who, submit their answers and are in the book. And but I'll tell you what the four questions were. The first question was, what was the first episode of Doctor Who you ever saw?
Hmm.
The second question was, well, after that, how did you become a fan? And not everyone's story is linear, right? Some people
Right.
go years between their first episode and the last. Some people literally watched the show on broadcast in the UK on the first day. Other people just, who submitted discovered this season this year or this past like season that broadcast in February or whatever it was, March,
Hmm.
which was cool. So there's this huge range of like experiences. And then the third question that we asked was, what's your favorite moment in fandom? And it's interesting because those answers varied from I had a really cool experience, maybe meeting an actor or production person. Some people just took it literally and said, actually, this moment in the series has a lot of gravitas for me, and I really just
Hmm.
like this scene. And then there were other people that were like, it completely changed my life, or I have a family because of this show, or I fell in love because of it, or I am a Guinness World Record holder because of it, or I got my job because of it. So
Oh.
there's some amazing like variety of stories. And then lastly, the fourth question that we ask, which is also a question that fans ask each other all the time, is, hey man, if you were going to start Doctor Who, if you're going to start somebody who's never seen the show, what's the story you're going to recommend they first watch, right? And that gets asked like, like people will debate for hours about that,
Hmm.
right? Trying to find like the right show or the right vibe, or like, like where do you start them? Or do you start them with the classic series? Do you just start them with a new series, or do you have them jump around? And so we really cared about those answers. And what we wanted was the fans themselves to answer that. We really wanted to document that so that if people are doing research about Doctor Who, I was talking about the Earthbound Time Lords at being an
Yeah.
academic website, we wanted to at least have a starting point for any academics who wanted to try to understand the fandom, that they could go somewhere and at least have some of those answers published somewhere, right? If you're going to do solid academic work, you're going to do your own surveys and ask other people, right? But having at least one potential secondary work that you can include that documents that is going to help anybody actually doing research
Mm-hmm.
in the subject. So if somebody's in media studies or sociology, trying to understand pop culture and fandoms and stuff, I actually think this book is going to be awesome. But what's cool about it is it's like just a really fun read because reading 100 stories of friends you know or people that you have encountered or people that you understand is like really engaging and really fun. And when you share a passion, right? So I'm a big Doctor Who fan. And then other Doctor Who fans, if they love that, or even if you're just a sci-fi fan, I think would be intrigued
Mm-hmm.
by some of these answers and where stumbling upon modern undead flipping through channels, right? Suddenly might lead to a career in Los Angeles and
Yeah.
rendering DVDs and like doing a whole bunch of stuff, right? So
Right. No, it's quite interesting, and I, it's so weird, like fandom trends and everybody. I think we've talked about this before about how with like something like Doctor Who that's expansive and as long as it's been, you have fandom, but to just call it fandom is way just brushing over because everybody's got a subsect of that Doctor Who fandom or subsects that like really intrigue them and they're more knowledgeable on this than they are over here.
yeah,
And
oh, totally.
and it's insane because
Yep.
like I love any conversation I can have about missing episodes. That's not
Yeah.
everybody's thing. That's not there's some people all about there's the Dalek like what was it, 63 to 89, is that what it is?
Yep.
That these guys go through and they take the history of like the Daleks built and where they went from there, and it appear and they'll spot an episode where like, oh, you see that scratch? That's that one that got used here and here and here, and they just travel. And I'm like, I'm fascinated to watch that, but I'm not doing that research.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not. They're like, oh, well, that one appeared in this thing, and yeah,
Yeah.
different people. Like, I'm very into the Blu-ray experience. I know some
Yeah.
people are fine with their streaming or like I
Yep.
watch it once and then we talk about this. Some people are really into the Target novelization collecting. It's just such and it's
Right.
fascinating to listen to everybody talk about. There's action dolly people. Don't think I'm
That's
one of them just because I have a few over here and
yeah.
some Eagle Mosses. I'm very particular in what I pick up. I'm not like, oh, I gotta get them all. So,
That's what's so amazing about fandom is because everybody follows their particular passion, right? So
right.
like Doctor Who role-playing games, we can chat forever. Like that's kind of
Yeah.
one of my jams, right? But then I think about one of my really good friends, Rob Warnock, right? Rob Warnock, trained musician,
Mm-hmm.
right? Does a panel at Chicago TARDIS every year, has interviewed a number of the different composers on Doctor Who, does a panel every year, knows about the music, like unbelievably great, like just super knowledgeable, right? And then just as I know and understand different people, they all have in-depth knowledge about this like passion that
Yeah.
they have, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's great, right? And if you're like, where do I fit in all this? I really want to say like go to a convention and find your tribe, right? Like
Yeah.
go to an event, go to Doctoberfest. Fantastic. Actually, I should say this. Fantastic actually officially releases at Doctoberfest this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes out on Saturday, the 18th of October, 2025, and we will have the first on sale in-hand copies, and there will be a bunch of contributors, I think, including yourself, Brandon, who will be there who can sign the book, right, for people who are interested in and which will be fun. But like, how cool is it that you can just go to this event and just show up and there are people there talking about Doctor Who and sharing their passions, and there's going to be authors there and writers and podcasters and vendors and the Doctor Who Museum will be there and be free that you can go and walk through. And that's in Canby, Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
which is a suburb of Indianapolis. So if you're in that area, if you're not far away, I really want to encourage everybody to come to Doctoberfest. I would love to have a chat with you. Tell me what you like about Doctor Who
Mm-hmm.
because um, that's kind of what community is about, right? Like and,
Mm-hmm.
and and celebrating those fun things. Tell me what your expert area in Doctor Who is. because there's a lot. We learned that. So
And if you're not in the book, maybe you can record with me and I'll ask you the 4 questions and we'll
yeah,
have it on a recording. Because I'm
that
trying to figure out what I'll do there
yeah.
again this year. I'm just kind of like, huh.
I
Okay.
think that's really cool. It'd be fun to have some people that couldn't be in the book actually answer those questions because
Hmm.
again, I think there's value in asking those questions. How did you become a fan, right? Like
Yeah.
that's really cool. At the beginning of this show, I said there might be another opportunity for people to get
Hmm.
involved. And I'll tell you, even before we were done putting together Fantastic, um, the celebration of fans discovering Doctor Who, we realized that we were going to be doing more than one book, right? Like the response was positive.
Hmm.
Liked being a part of it as a project. We ended up getting people from all over the world involved in the book, which was nice.
Hmm.
We had, of course, we had Americans. The majority of the people who replied are American, but that's because we live in America and we advertise at American conventions and
Right.
let people know. But we have people from the UK, we have people from Canada, we have people from Australia, we have people from Germany, we have people from Turkey. So like all kinds of places talking about like how they got into Doctor Who and what they like and we loved that. So as we were getting like great responses, we realized, well, we got to do a follow-up book. And I will tell you guys what that follow-up book is. So it has a tentative title right now. I think we're gonna keep this title, right? But it's called Behind the Sofa and Under the Bed. And it's going to be moments that scared Doctor Who fans.
All
Okay,
right.
so asking like, and some people are not scared by horror. There are literally some stories that we got for Fantastic where people
Right.
were like, I literally hid behind the sofa when I was a child. And we're like, tell us that story. What story
Hmm.
was that? Like, how are you reacting to that? And then I discovered Doctor Who when I was already a fan of horror. Okay, so like Doctor Who didn't particularly scare me, but there are some scenes in Doctor Who that genuinely scare me,
Yeah.
right? And so like there's the sequence in Midnight, the David Tennant story, where he's being totally reasonable. And I know as a fan of the TV show that he's the person that can save everyone here. And all of a sudden, everyone turns on him.
Yeah.
The fear causes people to turn on the one person that can help them. And to me, that idea, the mob rules mentality, that people can't see what they're doing till it's too late, can genuinely scare me.
Yeah.
And I think I really want to hear from Doctor Who fans who would want to participate in this. We'd love to include everybody. If you're listening to this podcast, you are invited. Those 4 questions for the next book are already up at zepopublishing.com. So if you actually go there and you go to the books page, you can already find the 4 questions that you can download in the release form. We do need a release form in order to include you in the book, but we'd love to have everybody listening give us feedback and let us know how the show scared them, right? And
Hmm.
I will, just because it's connected to this just a little bit. There's another book project that I'm working on with Trevor Schmidt. Trevor Schmidt is a horror fan here in Milwaukee, really active in horror fandom, does a lot of trips and visits and collecting and stuff like that. I know him from this area, actually, a great friendly guy. And he is working on a book project with Zepo Publishing, which is called The Tuesday Night Terror. And what his book is about is that he basically was such a big fan of horror, he wanted to share it with his kids.
Hmm.
But when you have kids, like, when's the right time to share horror with them, right? Like, you can't go like, hey, I know you're 5, let's watch Saw, and you'll really understand what's like. No, like that is not something that you
Yeah.
show somebody when they're young. You definitely need to at least be like an older level age teenager to like kind of really get the subtlety of what it's about.
Yeah.
Because of course it's gory and physically violent, right? That's not the right thing. So Trevor's writing this book, The Tuesday Night Terror, because what he did was he would get together on Tuesday nights and he and his kids, as they grew up, would watch different horror movies. So the Tuesday Night Terror basically talks, Trevor's going to talk through a little bit about what his journey was with his kids.
Hmm.
Everybody's got to find their own journey. His is not the right one, right? But he's going to talk about that. And then we're interviewing fans, just like we did for our first book, How to Celebrate Your Fandom. We're interviewing horror fans, asking them to answer 6 questions that we'd like to include them in the book. Because, for example, and I know you are a fan of horror movies, Brandon, your journey is different than my journey,
Right.
which is different than Trevor's journey, which is different than Trevor's kids' journey, right?
Yeah.
And so I think I feel really strongly at Zepo Publishing that hearing from fans, hearing from people who are involved, gives us different perspectives. It involves them in the fandom. It grows the fandom, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Like, literally, Trevor wanted to include his kids in the fandom, and they did, in fact, grow up to also love it their own way, right? Maybe
Hmm.
not the exact movies that he loved, but they had their own movies that they ended up loving, or books, or games, or
Hmm.
whatever it might be, right? So
Right.
video games, maybe, right? So like, but that's another project that we're working on. So there's also a release form. If people want to be involved in that, we invite them to be a part of that. And I need to particularly give you a shout out, Brandon, because I know that you passed that on to some people in the horror community that
Hmm.
you knew. And I'm very excited to like get involvement from them and have them involved actually in this. So
Yeah, I knew they'd jump at the chance. I knew like they
yeah,
would like, oh yeah, they, people, the horror community is very, they love contributing and writing and stuff about horror. And like, the one thing I think about when I think about the horror fans, that the coolest thing is there are people who a lot of fandoms will lead to this, but theirs is the most likely to lead about becoming knowledgeable about production and things like that,
yes,
because
yep,
it's the one fan base like I want to know how they cut that guy's arm off, and they learn they
yep,
like Tom Savini's a household name because of horror fans,
right, yeah,
like,
oh,
and he's
yeah,
he's an awesome guy, but like yes, people work with people to know, but because you know his name and Greg Nicotero and all that is because horror
yeah,
fans want to know the rock stars that made them believe what they saw on screen a lot.
yes,
Sci-fi fans are a little bit like that, but the horror fans really dive into that
yes,
and help by horror like not fanzine but like magazines like
yeah,
Fangoria and things
Cinefex,
like
right,
Cinefet. Yeah.
yeah,
So those people became household names because of horror fans.
yeah,
And that's one thing I love about the horror because they will, if it's a production, they're like, all right, let's do it. Let's
yeah,
so it's like a book's a production, so they can be part of a horror production, and
yeah,
they love to share their story and see their names in print. That's the cool
yep,
thing too. You're like, I'm in a book, and
yeah,
just because I was a fan and I wrote stuff, which is
right,
awesome.
yeah.
But yeah,
You
that
know,
horror book
I'll
is pretty
mention
cool.
something about this because this is really interesting.
Hmm.
So, when we first started doing Fantastic, I expected to start and end the project really quick
Okay.
because I thought for sure people would want to be involved in the project. I think there's a
Hmm.
lot of people that actually do want to be involved in the project. I'm talking about it here and even talking about our next one
Hmm.
because I want those people involved.
Hmm.
The reality is that we all have things that happen in our lives, and
Right.
sometimes we get busy and we can't get to it. But there's kind of an interesting statistic here, and that would be that I probably will tell 100 people,
Hmm.
hey, you can be a part of this Doctor Who. You can be a part of Doctor Who, be published and be,
Right.
this might be the first thing that you ever get published in, but I care about your opinion. Of those 100, 10 will say they do it. Of the 10 who say they do it, I get probably one submission,
Oh, okay.
which is really interesting. So about
Yeah.
1 in 10 who say I'll do it. And that I have to talk to 100 to get that one, right?
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
whether that's on a podcast or at a convention, or I send out emails, or you end up on the Zepo Publishing, list or whatever, and we send out, hey, we're doing a book, you are invited to be a part of this. Sometimes it's a little bit of work to get
Right.
people to be involved in that, right?
That makes
To
sense.
be
Yeah.
fair, sometimes it just needs to be the right project, right? So I'm
Right.
I'm aware of that too. So
I jump at the chance for and I was happy you reached out to me for both of them. And we're like, I was
yeah.
like, yes, yes, yes.
Well, you'll be getting the third one soon.
All right.
And anybody who's watching this podcast,
Yeah.
I would really love for you guys to be a part of either of those books if that's of interest to you.
Yeah. I have a couple curious questions if you're willing to share about
Oh, please,
Fantastic.
yeah.
So, we mentioned that Rachel Talalay has written the forward.
Yeah, so I have not mentioned that yet. So yeah, let's
I said
talk
we need
about
to
that.
mention that for one.
T-
Yeah.
Talk about an amazing person to have contribute to Fantastic and of course write the forward. Another excellent example of somebody who's crossed over from horror, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Rachel Talalay, of course, great director, right? Directed Tank Girl. I think Freddy's.
Freddy's Dead, the final. She won the job
Yeah.
over Peter Jackson to do Freddy's Dead, the Final Nightmare.
Yes.
But she
Yep.
she started as like a little intern over at New Line,
Yeah.
starting with Nightmare on Elm Street, and grew up through there. Her
Right.
journey. There's a one of my favorite documentaries ever made is Never
Mhm.
Sleep Again, and it's the story of Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's the most. I think it is something that inspired the kind of blunt, honest interviews and stuff we get on DVDs and Blu-rays now.
Yeah.
It was produced by Dan Ferens, who wrote Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers, which was a famously wicked production that wound up not really being much of his script, but he produced this, and it's just they got people back like insanely. They found Mark Patton from Elm Street 2, um, and so so you get to watch her come up. She's got a neat story that goes through all that.
Well,
But then she goes on to do Tank Girl, Ghost in the Machine, and then
yes.
winds up being one of the most prolific Doctor Who directors of all time. Like
Right.
that's
Right.
yeah.
Including being the director of the highest, best rated Doctor Who story of all time,
Yep.
according to Doctor Who magazine. So, Heaven Sent, right? So,
Yep.
what an amazing opportunity when, I kind of reached out to her and asked her, would you be willing to write the foreword to this book? She was open to it, and
Hmm.
that actually meant a lot. We'd actually had her at Chicago TARDIS, where she did watch along the day of broadcast for the Doctor Who episode that she directed with David Tennant, The
The Star Beast.
Starbase.
Yeah.
Yeah, packed room, over 700 people in the room, standing room only. Amazing event. And to watch a show that you directed with a crowd, it was absolutely electric in that room. And what a great moment. In fact, a few people, more than one, in Fantastic, when they talked about what was their favorite moment
Hmm.
in fandom, more
Hmm.
than one person said being in the room at that moment with the director and experiencing that was my all-time favorite moment in as a fan of Doctor Who. And to have her, who gets talked about in the book, actually write the foreword was
Right.
stunning. It's stunning. And she was so good at what she wrote too. I think people will find what her own take and how
Hmm.
she got involved in Doctor Who interesting, which she t touches on in that, right?
Yeah.
And
You know.
now
Yeah.
one of the greatest directors of Doctor Who and working on other projects. And I will just say anyone in Hollywood who wants top-notch directing, whether it's a TV show or even film, would be foolish not to consider her because the work that she does, now that genre fans are as immersed in their fandoms as they are,
Hmm.
this is a director that understands them, right? And I
Yeah.
just really want to say, like, I don't think you get many directors. Like, sure, you can hire somebody that, oh, is like cool or directed the most recently cool TikTok or YouTube video. But if you want somebody who connects with fans so deep that your property never goes out of style,
Yeah.
Rachel Talalay is the person I think you
Hmm.
probably want to have direct that. To have
Yeah.
her write in our book, like if you'd have told me anybody from Doctor Who would have considered writing in my book, I would have never believed it to get somebody of her talent and quality, like amazing. So
Yeah. Were there any sort of biggish names that show up in the book that wrote
yeah,
scripts?
I while I have some people that I could have probably reached out to, I
Hmm.
kind of left it in the fan realm
Right.
because um if you read, for instance, if you read Doctor Who magazine, you will get interviews from some of the people who maybe I could have asked, right?
Okay.
But we've already heard from them, right? And this goes
Right.
a little bit to that core of like, hey, I just kind of want to put this out there to include you, like the
Yeah.
the average fan, right? That said, I got a number of people, some of the more than one of the writers of the Doctor Who role-playing game were
Hmm.
there. Walt Chianowski,
Okay.
Andrew Peregrine were part of it. Um, uh, Cassie Beyer, who had written for the Doctor Who role-playing game from Cubicle 7 was a part of the book. I had a large number of the convention runners
Oh, okay.
in America participate in the book. So that was particularly cool, because these are the people who are keeping Doctor Who and Doctor Who fandom alive through their efforts running fan conventions and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, so many, Ken Deep, Jason Tucker, Taylor Dethridge, right? Lots of people who I could include. Sean Lyon from conventions all over the country. Um, John Freeman, who was the editor of Doctor Who magazine,
Okay.
in the late 80s, I think maybe into the start of the 90s, he was one of the people who contributed. He actually did a piece on Zepo Publishing for his online website, came across our How to Celebrate Your Fandom. And as funny as it was, I didn't connect, even though I'm a diehard, Doctor Who magazine reader, I didn't
Yeah.
connect his name to
Ah,
the actual like editor of the magazine. And when he gave me his background information, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I literally hung on every word that you wrote or edited or had people write for you.
right.
And it was wonderful, to hear from him. But there's so many people. There were some great you know, interviews in the book from fans who I'm happy to be connected with now. Um, Chris Sabula, who was one of the Milwaukee Time Lords.
Hmm.
He helped run the Renegade Time Lords Club in the 1980s, helps run the Milwaukee Time Lords Club now. I was happy that he decided to participate in that book. Um, Athena Stamos, she's an actress, is over at Gallifrey One convention. Had a really good piece that she wrote in the book. We have a couple people who got involved in the fandom and became Guinness Book of World Record holders in the size of their Doctor Who conventions, which is like amazing to me, right? Like just to see people do that. There's some stalwarts if you know Zepo Publishing's, stable of books or some of our regular writers,
Right.
Libby Shea, the people that we already talked about earlier and stuff. But really, I wanted to include a lot of different people. So, like one person who I was able to include, which is kind of fun. I talked earlier about how I have a connection with role-playing games. One of the people who was actually in the book is Cindy Gygax, one of Gary Gygax's daughters.
Okay.
And she and her family discovered and grew to love. She knew Doctor Who from the 80s, but they, as a family, started watching Doctor Who, especially in the Matt Smith era, and it kind of became their thing, right?
Okay.
And so just another example of how like the world of gaming and the world of Doctor Who are a lot closer than we sometimes think,
Yeah.
right? Like, and so like how cool was it that one of the Gygax family is in the book? I think that's an amazing connection. You know, it's important for me to say that everybody who contributes in a book like this, every person who's a fan of something,
Hmm.
right? Especially Doctor Who in this case, right? But a fan of anything. I think it's important to let people know that they are genuinely important and that
Hmm.
they are actually like their ideas and their passion for something is worth noting and writing down, right?
Yeah.
When we did our first book, called How to Celebrate Your Fandom, a bunch of us got together and I know you've reported on this, but I really want to talk about this because this gets to the core of I think what our publishing company is
Go
about.
for it.
We were originally going to call the book uh, How to Be a Super Fan. Okay, like it was going to be a whole bunch of things that you could do, and if you did this, you'd be like one of the great fans, one of
Yeah.
the people that's done it all. You've cosplayed, you've made videos, you've done unboxings, you've done a fanzine, you did this. And Libby Shea, who I need to give a shout out to, came to us. We asked her to be a part of the project, and she said, I will not be a part of the project unless you change the name. And that's a pretty bold thing when you're trying to involve somebody in a
Yeah.
actual, like, hey, this is a paid gig. Like, we want you to be a part of this. And she was like, yeah, no, I won't do it unless you change the name. And we were like, explain that to us. And she's like, because if you call it How to Celebrate Your Fan, or if you call it How to Be a Super Fan, then you're just creating another category that excludes people. And so we took like, what do you think it should be called? And she said it should be called something like How to Celebrate Your Fandom. And I was like, you're absolutely right. We changed the name of the book. We were like, how all we were trying to do was write a book that would include people.
Yeah.
And just the nature of fandom sometimes makes us create the haves and the have-nots. And at the core of my being, that's something that I stand against. I truly believe we're all equal. I believe everybody has a voice. I believe we are all a part of the communities that we're a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And I am really, I tell that story intentionally to both give Libby credit, but to also say, like, I have grown and become a better person because of the people who worked on those projects with me. And now that I'm
Yeah.
working on Fantastic, I'm growing in my Doctor Who fandom. I'm becoming a better fan because I realize there's people that know things I don't know and who are their own exciting adventures and
Well, and
just love it.
also, and people need to like should realize too, like as thoughtful as you can be, as like trying to think of like I shouldn't do this, shouldn't do like, well, who's gonna be like sometimes you just overlook and aren't thinking about something or
Yeah.
don't realize. I had a similar situation years ago, back when I did promo videos for this show for episodes. Uh, and I was doing one. We were gonna do a parody of the episode was the best soundtrack songs of the 90s, and I had a round table, and I was going to do a parody video of the Gal Gadot Imagine video where they did all the celebrities and they
Yep.
were, and it got trashed and stuff. So I went for a bit parody of that. And I got all the people who have been guests on my show, got a bunch of them to contribute, and we're gonna do "I Believe I Can Fly" from Space Jam, doing that. One of the people I went to is she hasn't been on the show in quite a while. Still keep in touch though. It's Danielle Sepulvera's, and she was like, "Hey, I think this is a wonderful idea, but does it have to be an R. Kelly song?" I was just thinking Space Jam. Everyone's
Yep.
gonna know that. It's gonna be ridiculous. And I was like, she's like, it's kind of gross. I think about. I'm like, I was like, you know what? You are right.
Yeah. Yep.
What was I thinking?
Yep.
You prevented me from maybe some backlash and all this, and we
Yeah.
changed it to "My Heart Will Go On," and that's what we went.
Yep.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's the biggest soundtrack song of that decade, so might as well go with that. And
Yep.
she saved me there
Yeah.
from potentially going whoop and getting a whole bunch of other
Yes.
people in because nobody else said anything. They're all like, "Oh,
Yep.
that's funny. Oh, that's funny." And yeah, and I came back and quickly whipped them around and did something different. And
Yep. Yep.
I liked the video. I don't
Yeah.
know how it went over with people, but I liked the video. But
Yeah.
thanks to Danielle, she saved me from myself in that situation.
Yep.
But yeah, that's and Libby saved you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this, right? Like some people might be like, well, R. Kelly did do the song. It's not that big a deal. We don't have to make those connections. We shouldn't be that sensitive to things. I think it's important to just recognize that sometimes people can let us know that something's better if we just make a different, better choice.
Yeah, you can
That's
change
not
it. You can change it.
compromising
Yeah.
like the goal of what you were trying to do. In fact,
Nope.
Libby was able to focus what we said almost more pure than we did
Yeah.
because she was like, can we get to like the core of what's going on here? Let's not exclude someone just because like if we make a book and now people feel like excluded because they didn't do everything in the book, like we're like, that's the last thing we want. We don't
At,
want that.
at least she called it super fan and not true fan.
Oh my
Oh, that would
Lord.
have
Yeah.
been yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, what were you thinking? At
Well,
least we have a super fan. So.
and the reason that we wanted to do that, right? Like,
Hmm.
was because we wanted to make sure that like some of us have been through the fan systems of different fandoms that we're a
Yeah.
part of, and we just wanted to like, it's not hard to get involved at the level that some of us are involved in certain
Hmm.
things, but these are the things that you need to do. We can help you on that journey. I now realize that it was more important for me to become a publisher and shorten that journey for people so they can immediately be part of a book project,
There you
that
go.
they don't have to do a whole bunch of different things, that they're just as valuable, participating in the fandom however they participate in that fandom,
Hmm.
So, and then flip side, you still got to write something. So is my barrier too high? If you choose not to be a part of the book, you are still a fan. If you feel like you're a fan, then you are, right?
Yeah.
And if there's a way that we can include you in some project, we will.
But even if you're just reading and feeling a connection, that's cool fandom too.
Yeah,
That's cool
absolutely.
fandom as
Right.
well.
So,
Um, do
and,
you
and
have
actually, I'll add one last thing, and that
yeah.
was as we were doing our books, we were like, we asked some other friends, hey, do you want to be in this book? And then they said, well, I wouldn't consider myself a fan of Doctor Who.
Mm.
And then we were like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, I just get together with you guys and watch it. And I'm like, yeah, I kind
You
of
have a
think
half a
I'm a
million
fan.
dollars of merchandise in your home. What are you talking
Yeah, right.
about?
And in their case, they were like, actually, I like getting together with my friends and I like the show, but I don't follow it and I'm not
Hmm.
organized in a fandom. So we were very clear that like, hey man, if you watch this show and you enjoy it, you're a fan. There's
Yeah.
nothing else you need to do. You don't need to blog or you don't need to like wear Doctor Who
Yeah.
buttons or like whatever. Like if you just like it, you're good. You're solid. You're in. We'd like to hear your opinion. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whether I can go, oh, it's the Movellians, or you go, the Dreads people,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
still a fan,
Absolutely. You know what's
Like,
going on. You remember something, right? So that's
yeah.
okay.
And in my old age, I get bad with name things. Like, I
Right.
don't retain stuff as much as I used to anymore. So people are always there. I do want to know what, and this isn't, I'm not meaning this to like, I'm not
Oh,
trying to call anybody out by this question or whatever, but like, what was one of the, this is a twofold question here. What was one of the craziest first episodes that you ran by and were like, wow, they kept going after that? Or something that just seemed that stuck out maybe as a first episode someone caught?
absolutely. Well, it's interesting because sometimes people's introduction to Doctor Who is not actually a TV episode.
Okay.
So in a couple of cases, there were people who discovered a Target book or who like discovered like comics or something where it was their entryway or the
Okay.
audio books, audio adventures by Big Finish, right? That found their way into the fandom. And it's interesting, most of the time it's the actual TV show,
Mm-hmm.
but there's some that have a different entry point. I remember one story that was really interesting. I can't remember whose story it was. Maybe John Derek. I might have that name wrong. I just can't remember. Their first episode was Curse of the Fatal Death.
Oh, wow.
So interestingly, they first saw a parody of Doctor Who instead of Doctor Who itself,
Yeah.
but that was still an entry point for them, which I think uh was actually like cool and funny, right? Like a little unexpected, right? There was a second part to your question. I can't remember, and I had a
Well, I didn't
story
ask
for it.
it yet. I didn't ask it yet, but
Oh, okay.
I do
Okay.
know, and like piggybacking off that, the modern Who tends to have, and I've heard frequently that there are people that discover Doctor Who through Torchwood, not
Oh,
reverse.
interesting.
There are
Yeah.
people that had watched Torchwood first and then went over to Doctor Who.
Yep, yep.
Now, my next part was, what was one of the like most surprising suggested starting points for Doctor Who that you ran through,
Interesting.
if you can remember?
Yeah, I mean, and I can remember. I mean, we had over 100 people give us feedback. Some of those started to group. We started seeing
Hmm.
some trends of what people first saw and or what people suggested people start with.
Hmm.
It's very interesting when people pick a story that most people wouldn't start with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So which is interesting, right? A lot of people will say, "Oh, you should start at this doctor's first story, or you should do whatever," right? It's interesting when you have somebody say, "You know what? Mask of Mandragora. That is the story that you should start with." And you're
Wow.
like, that wasn't what I was expecting. Talk me through that. And what I love about the book is they do talk
Yeah.
themselves through their reasoning sometimes. Some people will just give one word answers. Some people will talk through it. And in that case, like they were literally like, It's got great production value. It was shot on location. Instead of it being a bug-eyed monster, it turns out to be this like ancient evil, very Lovecraftian.
Okay.
It's got cultists. It's got the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith, the top of their game. We learned this, the fact that the TARDIS can translate is a secret of the Time Lord. Like, there's a lot going on in that story. And I was like very surprised as that being a suggestion,
It
right?
does start a season off. There's
Yeah,
that.
and just you know, I will say, and I think this is interesting, and I will reveal my answer.
Okay.
Okay, so, and that is that I don't think there's a wrong place to start Doctor Who.
Right.
I know that I stumbled across it flipping through channels, and I was like, wow, this is great. So I think as long as you watch a couple stories in a row, you're gonna find out how great a show
You're
Doctor
gonna
Who is.
hit the wavelength. I've been having this conversation recently a
Yeah,
lot where we've gotten away because of the accessibility of everything.
yeah,
And this started probably with when TV shows started getting released on DVDs,
yeah,
or things started getting more curated better, that everybody had this thing, well, I have to start at the beginning. I have to start at the
yep,
beginning. And then, but you were dealing with a 60 plus year, I mean, 60, what, 2-year-old show.
yeah,
And like, like the comic books from back in the day, pick it up, start there. You can realize this is the force of good, this is the force of evil. They're mad about this. I'll in my head try to figure it out, but we keep going. Maybe someone references. Maybe I can go back later and catch up with this, but like just jumping in. I used to tell people like, oh, well, when a new Doctor starts, hop on there. But you could just hop into a good story, or even a story
yeah,
that to Doctor Who fans might not be the greatest, but because you've never seen Doctor Who, you don't know that. And that might
right.
hit with you in a special, because I've seen Doctor Who fans have wildly different opinions on different things all the time.
Yes, yes,
It's
yep.
crazy because I, yeah, and like we shouldn't be
Everyone's
afraid to jump in the middle of stuff like we are
absolutely
nowadays.
right.
Yep.
Everyone's favorite episode is somebody else's least favorite episode. That's just how the
Right.
world works, you know? And,
Yeah.
you know, I think that's great, actually. A lot of
No.
people I think would be confused by that or not like that. And I'll just say, I think it's good that we're all different. I can't imagine how boring the world would be if we were all the same, if we were all automatons that thought and acted the same way.
Mm-hmm.
The diversity that we have as human beings, right? Like the people we are, the things we love, how we act, what we do, our life experiences, where we're from, what we look like, what we care about.
Mm-hmm.
That's what like is truly like the spice of life and makes life amazing, right?
Yeah.
Having arguments with people about whether or not somebody like a certain movie or a TV show is good or not, but finding that middle ground where we can communicate, I think there's so much value in that. And I'll say this, like Brandon, that's why your podcast matters. It's an opportunity for people to communicate, talk, share ideas, right? All of the
Yeah.
guests that you have on, with a lot of great guests, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's worthwhile. Going to a convention, sharing, telling somebody, do your own fanzine, literally like, and like people go like, how hard is it to be a fanzine? It can be the easiest thing in the world. Take a piece of paper, write down what you think about it. If you're talking about Doctor Who, photocopy it and give it to me. I don't care if it's handwritten. I will read what you wrote because I like
Right.
Doctor Who and I want to know what you think, right?
Well,
So like,
I'm interested in like when I'm not as big on something, I want to know why you like it. And
yeah,
not like better explain yourself. It's like I want to like it too. And a lot of
yeah,
people don't open themselves to that nowadays.
yeah,
They get really up, like
yes,
I can tell you confidently why I enjoy something, or why this doesn't bother me, or
absolutely.
why
Yeah,
and and like Larry always says, it's new with new stuff, because like the new stuff is always the most ridiculed, no matter what. Time goes by. You know what? That was great. You said you didn't like it back.
yes, yep,
Um, Larry always says like, it's like it's new Doctor Who. It's exciting. Enjoy it. Like there's new Doctor Who.
yes,
There was a time where there wasn't always new Doctor Who. Enjoy new Doctor Who. It's
right,
different, and every time, and every time a doctor changes, like whoever you have moved one step further from the key demographic for it.
Yep.
Every time you move one step further,
Yep.
so you got to realize it's not, and if they are just making it for you, they have a big problem because they're not going to be drawing in new people, which has kept
Right.
this alive for
Yeah.
years and years. And it's so crazy to see the different, like when um the Chris Chibnall Jodie Whittaker era started, I saw the
Yep.
craziest battle between fans because like I saw people, but then I saw people going, "Wow, this feels like Doctor Who again, finally."
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's just it's funny to see,
Yep.
and I'm just enjoying it along. And it's Doctor Who. I'm finding new things, what I can enjoy about this era and that era,
Yep.
or what they bring. And like, I'm not saying like it's all wonderful. You should like it all. You're okay to not like stuff, but quit being so harsh
Right.
about it. And we all know the show regenerates. You might the next time might be more for
Absolutely.
you, or you might go back and go, wait, I was a bit too harsh. Like
Sure.
that's the loveliness of Doctor Who, and it can apply
Yep.
to a lot of fandoms as well. There's other things I'm into, and I notice trends with how fandoms go. So that's
Yeah.
kind of how it is. But don't be so negative.
Right.
Be find a good critical way to talk about why you don't like it, rather
Yep.
than just like my big word. And if you see me on message boards and stuff like that when I talk, I'm like, can you articulate that more? Can
Yeah.
you tell me what you mean by
Yep.
that? And if your answers are because it's not a white dude or something, we're done talking. That has
Right.
no place here. So
Yeah.
if you can tell it's from that,
Especially
yeah.
when it's a sci-fi show that can do anything, right? I
That has
understand.
always been open, and yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah. I understand people like sometimes struggle with like limits or barriers or
yeah.
like changing your worldview can be difficult, right?
Hmm.
It's always interesting to me though when it's Doctor Who and you can literally do or tell any story, and some
Yeah.
people are so caught up in their own particular worldview that they're not open to others. That's always really
Well, that's
interesting to
my
me.
thing too. Is like I've heard all those stories. I'm very interested in the stories. I that as a straight white dude, I
Yep.
don't know. I've been catered to so much. I know these stories. I'm cool.
Right.
Like I have plenty of stuff to go to. I'm more intrigued and more like ooh because I learn. I see
Yes.
new stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's like, but yeah, that's
Yeah. Such great opportunities. You know, one of my
mhm.
favorite things about fandoms in general is the opportunity to learn. It's why I like science fiction. It's why I like horror movies. A lot of people
Mhm.
like horror movies. Can you learn something from that? Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure I can
Mhm.
learn to not walk down an alley in a dark night.
Right.
Or if my car breaks down, maybe not go to Mr. Leatherman's home
Right.
to see, like, to use the phone. Maybe
Right.
you just keep walking on that day. Okay. So, like,
Well, a
so
lot of those hide very big social commentaries
yeah.
in their
I'm
little
making a
movies. Yeah.
Leatherface joke, of course.
I do,
Like,
yes.
yeah, so, but, yeah, I just, really appreciate you taking some time to
Yeah,
chat with me, man.
yeah.
I am having so much fun
Mhm.
doing this. I really do want to say I would love for some of the people and fans following you, please get involved in some of these books. I want to give you a chance to be a part of it. And
Mhm.
and I say that because I want to hear more of those stories, right? You were
Yeah.
just saying how we need some more of those stories, right? And that includes stories from the fans, right?
Yep.
And so, there were a lot of people, and I have a gaming connection, right? There were a lot of people who were gamers who contributed to this book. That means that they're sitting down and playing the Doctor Who role-playing game. That means they're in their minds creating their own Doctor Who adventures,
Yeah.
right? So you want to write Doctor Who? Hey, man, you can do that free in a role-playing game.
Right.
Let's put it in our minds and let's go, right? And so that was like a really cool thing that I really
Yeah.
liked.
Um,
So,
just so I don't forget,
yeah,
before we wrap up and whatever, um, so people know what kind of, if they're writing, what kind of family of books they're joining here or having
yeah,
their words in. You have two books out already. We talked about how to
I
celebrate
do.
your fandom.
Yep.
And then the other one is Not Everyone Walks the Stage.
Yeah,
You want to
yeah.
tell a little bit about that and the accolades you've received from
Sure,
these books as
absolutely.
well?
So This is our book, Not Everyone Walks the Stage. I actually wrote it with Sierra Andrews, who was a student at the university that I work at. It
Hmm.
was illustrated by a graduate of the university, who was a student when she started illustrating the book. So really, it's a children's book aimed really at ages 4 to 8. And what it is it's about a girl, Sophia, who goes to school for the very first time. And what happens when she goes to kindergarten? She has to deal with all the things that happen when you first go to school. A little bit of uncertainty. You're not going
Hmm.
to be with your parents, hoping you're going to make new friends. Will you, won't you? Expectations. You have to do homework. You might not be as good at every subject like you want to be. And so going to school, Sophia actually learns or hears at school, not from a teacher, but from some other kids, that at the end of the year, not everyone walks the stage. And so some kids are held back, right? So like they don't let them graduate. And statistically, about 4% of all kindergartens are held back in their first year of school. 6% of all first graders are held back.
Hmm.
So like that's kind of a lot. And it usually has to do with those students might not be socially up to speed. They might not be, they could, in some cases, be being diagnosed with behavioral problems for the first time, or like whatever the situation might be, right? Maybe they're just not a good fit or they didn't retain that information, need a little bit more time, right?
Hmm.
Well, as the book goes on, Sophia kind of finds herself a little bit and gets better at school, counts on her family. There's some intergenerational family stuff that happens. She spends some time with her grandpa, gets to be better friends with some of the other kids. But now it's getting near her graduation date. And this was different when I was young. We did not have a kindergarten graduation, but graduations are now common. Sometimes even from preschool, but a kindergarten graduation is common. There's now sometimes sixth grade graduations, middle school graduations, high school, and college, right?
Hmm.
So, so she's worried she won't be able to participate in graduation, right? What we really find out is that Sophia is in a wheelchair.
Oh, okay.
And so she's been taking the idea of walking the stage literally because she knows she's not going to be able to walk the stage.
Gotcha.
And it's an idiom, right? Like it's what we say, but not really what we mean.
Hmm.
And that is kind of what drives the book. But the way the book is written, the co-author Sierra Andrews, who really wrote most of the book, the story, she herself is in a wheelchair. She was a student of mine at the Milwaukee School of Engineering, and she became wheelchair bound right before she got to college. When she was 18, she was in an automobile accident,
Mm.
okay, weather related, and is in a wheelchair. So she and I decided to write this book to encourage people. And so the first half of the book is this children's book. The second half of the book, Sierra herself actually answers all the questions that people kind of maybe want to ask, but never have a chance to ask somebody who's in a wheelchair. Okay. Is it appropriate to ask somebody how they ended up in a wheelchair? Is it okay to push somebody who's in a wheelchair? Should you or should you not do it? What's the etiquette, right?
Hmm.
Can your wheelchair rust, right? If you're in a wheelchair, does that mean that you can't walk at all? Why doesn't everybody have an electric wheelchair? Why Sierra herself has a manual wheelchair. Why would
Hmm.
you not get one that's electric? That seems like it would be easier. And I will answer this one because I think it's actually important. And that is we all have to exercise, even if maybe we have some mobility impairments, right? So
Hmm.
it's healthier and better for somebody in a wheelchair, even if they are maybe not able to walk from their legs down, it's better for them to actually exercise their upper body, work their body out. You can
Yeah.
actually move faster and more efficiently in a manual wheelchair than an electric wheelchair. But I think that's one of those things that able-bodied people may not always understand.
Yeah.
And so, just a super great resource. That book on top of it, just having an opportunity to chat about it. There's special sections in there. There's sort of a little bit like, can you find this in the book section? There's a section called Other Ways to Use This Book. There's an interview with the artist talking about like how she did the art and how if you want to be an artist, what does that look like, right? And
Yeah, the back
so,
of the book is loaded. Like after the story ends, there's so much more
yeah,
to it. Yeah.
absolutely, right? And I will let you know, part of Zepo Publishing's philosophy is we want to give you great content. We want to give you a great book. We want to give you something great to read. And then we want to give you more.
Mm-hmm.
So every one of our book includes extra things in it. Okay. So like fantastic, right? We're talking about the Doctor Who book, 100 fans do things. We have a section in there that's actually ways to celebrate your Doctor Who fandom. There's another section in there about statistics about the book and which were the top and favorites. Like we decided to include a Doctor Who program guide. So like I remember how important it was when I got the Jean-Marc Lofficier Doctor Who program guide in the 1980s so I could
Mm-hmm.
like see at least all the names of the stories and what order they were.
Mm-hmm.
So while we don't give a description of each of those, we do have a program guide that lists every Doctor Who story in the order that they were broadcast so you can watch Doctor Who and all of the different versions of it, which I can't think, I know there's the internet and I know people are like, I can just look that up online. But I will also let you know that I don't agree with maybe every choice that's made online. So Wikipedia, for example,
Mm-hmm.
chose to split the entry of Doctor Who between old Doctor Who, or classic Doctor Who as they
Mm-hmm.
call it, and new Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Of course, if you watch the show, it's all just one show. Why would you guys split it? So the production was enough of a reason, but if you're into the fiction of the show, it's just one long, big, big, big story. So,
Yeah. Including
um,
the TV movie in
absolutely, exactly
96. Yeah.
correct, right? And where does that fit, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So we included that, and then there's one or two other features in there as well, right? And really, we just want to make sure that you always get more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, with the first book that we did, How to Celebrate Your Fandom, the beginning of the book is 50 plus things that you can do to get involved in your fandom. Then beyond that, there's another section, Can You Find in the book? Then we actually give you another 40 things you can do.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's a section on other ways to use the book as well. And then we included interviews, sort of like what we're doing with the horror book, with over 30 other fans of different things. And they were ages, youngest was 5, the oldest was 101 years old.
Mm.
Okay. Talking about what fandoms and loves and interests they liked. And we included their answers to the questions about their fandom. What advice would they give to people who are interested or passionate about something? And I'll tell you, the best advice, it doesn't matter if you're 5 or 100 plus, it's still good advice, right?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that, whether you're, in the twilight of your life or you're just starting it off, there are some universal truths that if you honestly get to them and you can get to the core of those positive things and positive moments, right? Like that really never changes depending on how old you are. So really a fantastic book, right? Like, and I got a new fantastic book coming out. Haha. So like, but How to Celebrate Your Fandom is great. Not everyone walks the stage. I think especially if you have a person who's going to school for the first time or as a graduation gift for a
Mhm.
youngster, it's a great book. I think people love this. And of course, and I know I sent you the image of it, but fantastic. This is in fact our proof copy of it,
Mhm.
which we're currently editing. It should be done and then out. And that book, of course, releases on the October 18th. We hope to see you in the Indianapolis area for Doctoberfest for the release. We hope to see you there. We'd love that. Where else can you get our books? You can go to ZepoPublishing.com. Zepo is Zepo, 1P, ZepoPublishing.com. That's a great place to go. Our books are available on like BarnesandNoble.com. They're available at Walmart, online, Amazon, of course.
Which is your preferred way if they want to make sure they're supporting
Sure. Yeah,
your distribution, which one
absolutely.
is the best what method?
Well, I'm going to give an answer that's slightly different than most people give, and that is however you buy the book
Okay.
is the best way you can support someone. Saying that you're going to get a book and they're not getting it doesn't help them. Okay.
Mhm.
So just get it wherever it works for you. If you want to be hardcore about like helping someone out, the best place would be to go to a convention or a signing where the authors are, because they will get the majority of the amount of money that the book is for if you are there for them. And that's the best way to show support and to just give them a conversation or a minute of your time telling them about your fandom or the fact that you appreciate what they did. That often means more than any book sale, I'll be very honest with you, right? Hearing from people.
That's
That,
that
yeah,
reminds me, like, so Scott Mendelson recently he made a post on social media about one battle after another because it's got the 70 millimeter VistaVision IMAX thing, and he wrote the best format for viewing one battle for another is the one that is most convenient and affordable for each theatrical moviegoer. It's a terrific
yes,
film, and it'll look and sound great in any properly operated auditorium with a decent sized
yes,
screen and functioning speakers. And
yep,
I was like, yeah,
yep,
because people need to get out and see that in the theater, like because we've gotten into a whole
absolutely.
like, well, it's great that the IMAX theaters are doing wonderful, but that shouldn't
Yep,
keep people from seeing it if they can't get to an IMAX. Like, still
right.
go see it in
Just
the theater.
yeah,
So yeah,
just get it, right? And
right.
if you're not if you're like, okay, hey, I want to get it and like I can't get to a signing or something like that, ZepoPublishing.com will have a listing when you go to that book page of different places that you can get it.
Hmm.
It's totally okay to buy from Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, great book company, like wherever it is that you can get it is great, right? So we have some direct links that you can on Zepo Publishing that you can buy like directly from us. That's helpful too. But whatever it gets you reading and enjoying a book and like doing something fun, right? If you can find a way to celebrate your fandom, enjoy your Doctor Who interests, like you're doing it right. You know what I mean? And we don't all have limitless money. So we have
Hmm.
to make choices about the things that we consume and what we do. That's why we try to give everybody extra value with each one of our items because if you have to make choices, we want to give you as much as we can is honestly what we want to do. So because
Gotcha.
we're fans ourselves, like that's what we love. So
Yeah.
like I would want a couple extras and stuff, you know what I mean? Because that's cool,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I know that when I buy a DVD and it comes with a featurette and a behind the scenes and a running audio commentary and some extras, I like that more than when they don't.
Yeah.
So, and I will buy that before I buy something that doesn't have something else that I haven't seen, right? Because I'm
Right.
already passionate about the movie, but I want to be passionate about the product I buy
Well,
too.
we're living in a day and age where right now I'm just happy they get it out. Period on
Right.
a physical
Yep.
media format where I've got like,
Yes.
well, I guess I'm just
Yep.
glad it's here because
Yeah.
Barbarian
Yeah.
still not on physical media yet.
Yeah.
Um, that was
Yeah,
a
and
great
I'll
move.
say this too, right? Like it matters for people to buy books. It matters for people
Hmm.
to buy DVDs, Blu-rays, to have physical media. Um, Anybody can pull anything at any time. If you have the rights to it, you can do what you want to it.
Hmm.
Okay. If you buy your media, if you buy a book, if you buy a Blu-ray, that's yours and you can use it however you want at that point. You can't copy it and pirate it and copy it, have a backup for your own personal use.
Or
It's how
show it
I
in your
understand the
backyard
law.
and charge tickets. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Can't do that. But you then have it. And I've encountered way too many things that have been fleeting or somebody's like, "Oh, I got that." One of my friends went through the Book-ageddon that happened when a lot of books went offline
Mm.
and like suddenly had all these books that they had electronically and suddenly didn't own all the books they had electronically because those electronic versions, were on a server and somebody said, "Ah, yeah, we no longer have the rights to these. We're going to just shut them off." That's
Jeez.
own your stuff. That's my advice to people. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
fill your house up, not trying to make anybody a hoarder. But if you really love something, having it means that you will always have it. So,
Perfect. Oh, I think that's a good segue to wrap us up here.
sure.
Um, I appreciate your time here and sharing your passion of fandoms and telling us about the new
Yeah.
book, which is going to be awesome. I can't wait
Yeah.
to have myself a copy.
Well, and let me
And
say this. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
mhm.
But I really want to talk to your viewers for a second. If you want to be a part of our project, please join us. Please go to ZepoPublishing.com and download those questionnaires and participate. Email those to us. I really want to give a shout out to Brandon. If you like this episode, watch the rest of his content. It's actually good. I watch the rest of his content, right? And so I think you're going to find a lot of great stuff in his podcast and a lot of the great reporting that he does. And this was a great conversation. And I love listening to the other conversations you have with other people, Brandon.
All right. Well, thank you. And where can people keep up with you and Zepo on social media?
Sure, yeah. We are on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it these days, and also Blue Sky as Zepo Publishing, Zepo Publishing. Okay. And we're on all of those platforms. We try to post to all of them regularly. ZepoPublishing.com is the main place you can get stuff. I do want to mention that on our website, we very often have freebies and extras that we include for people. So for instance, if you were to buy, if let's say you're a teacher and you wanted to buy Not Everyone Walks the Stage, so that you could read it in class and talk about the concepts, diversity, other things in there, we actually have free lesson plans and also worksheets that teachers can download for our educational books. Same with How to Celebrate Your Fandom. There are teacher resources that you can download for free. Sometimes there are posters there. Sometimes there are free games that you can download from our site. We're really kind of about kind of creating that community and giving away free stuff and making sure that people enjoy stuff. And that's just how we should do stuff. We don't need to make money on everything that we do. You know what I mean? And I think there's not as many places where people can just go and quote unquote be kids or, without people trying to make your money. If you have an opportunity to support a creator, help them out, buy something, do what you need to. But I think we can also be kind to one another and just, share what we need to sometimes.
All right. Well, it sucks. I have to follow that up with I'm on the socials at
which is fine.
I was like, we should just leave on that. But I got to tell people I'm on the socials at Brandon4KUHD. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can see this episode as well as this fall's hottest 4K Blu-ray DVD reviews. I don't know if they're the hottest, but they're mine. The show returned. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say I left one of my socials off, which I'm really embarrassed about.
Oh, go for it.
So we're also on YouTube as Zepo Publishing.
Aha.
And so on YouTube, we do a bunch of stuff, mostly gaming connected, but also book connected. So we're doing a lot of YouTube shorts, cool new dice, and we're doing 10-second RPG plots there, which is kind of fun. And then we have this series that I have called DM Drive, and that's when we talk about concept of role-playing games that we think is important to share, and we drive in the car and talk gaming. So
all right,
kind of fun. But yeah, check out Zepo Publishing as well. Make sure you go like and subscribe and then comment on any of Brandon's content here. And then when you're done doing that, please come to my channel. Go to Zepo Publishing, do the same.
All right.
I know a lot of people, I'll just say this because it's funny. A lot of people are always like, why are people always saying that? And the reality is, in order to work the algorithm on YouTube and places like that, having enough subscribers is important that somebody can get monetized. And when you have a chance to engage with somebody, even if it's giving them a like or leaving a comment, any comment, even that was cool, it's better than no comment. It's free to do that, right? So help somebody out, give them a salute. If there's somebody who was a guest on a show, just say, hey, this was a great guest, have them back, right?
Yeah.
I just want to talk about that engagement because it's important. I don't think a lot of people understand how social media sometimes works. And so I'm trying to clue everybody in, hey guys, it works like this. So the more comment that you, or more content that you comment on or give a thumbs up to or share, the more you're gonna get content like that. So if you love it, it will feed it more to you. And if you love certain creators, make sure you do that. So do that. Make sure you do that for Brandon. So
I appreciate that. Okay. Well, this show, if you come back next week, we return with filmmaker Mike McCarthy and a discussion on his film Cigarette Girl, which turns 15 this year. And until then, stay film positive.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at brandonpetershow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at brandonpetershow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.